More than the television of almost any other genre, Western shows rely on charismatic characters to bring their stories to life. Like the classic movies of Hollywood's golden age that preceded them, Westerns on the small screen revive the wild spirit of the Old West where maverick gunslingers, unruly cattle drivers, and tribal warriors abounded. Even neo-Western series set in modern times manage to keep this spirit alive, as their central characters bear the hallmarks of the genre despite appearing in contemporary settings. However, it takes some of the best Western TV actors to mark these characters out as major new additions to one of Hollywood's oldest traditions. What truly makes a great character in the Western genre, however, is more the power to shape tradition than the ability to conform to it. The best Western movie characters are the ones which changed the genre for everything that came after them, and the greatest Western TV characters are no different. So, whether it's the trailblazing heroes and villains of early TV Westerns in the 1950s and 1960s, or the complex, enigmatic anti-heroes of neo-Western series, these 15 characters either broke the mold or made it themselves. They define what the Western genre on the small screen is all about. Rowdy Yates, Rawhide played by Clint Eastwood. Rowdy Yates got Clint Eastwood the role of the man with no name in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy, but this TV character couldn't be more different from his later role. Rowdy is initially hot-headed and reckless, although his growth into the resourceful leader of Rawhide's cattle drive is among the best early examples of character development in a small-screen Western. Joe Leaphorn, Dark Winds played by Zahn McClarnon Image via AMC+. The undisputed linchpin of Western noir thriller Dark Winds, Native American Police Chief Joe Leaphorn is detective novelist Tony Hillerman's greatest creation. While the character has previously appeared in a big-screen production and a miniseries, it's Zahn McClarnon's Emmy-worthy performance across 3 seasons and counting as the steadfast Navajo tribal leader that really defines who Hillerman intended Leaphorn to be. Winona Epp played by Melanie Scrofano. The title character of a 2010s cult fantasy show that deserves more love, Winona Epp is descended from, and inspired by, legendary lawman Wyatt Epp, a key figure in the seminal 1993 Western movie. Melanie Scrofano's character has even more to reckon with than her great-great-grandfather, though, as she courageously battles supernatural forces with his old Colt buntline revolver. Thor, the Swede Gunderson, Hell on Wheels played by Christopher Heyerdahl. If Hell on Wheels is among the best Western TV shows from the last decade, then Thor, the Swede Gunderson is one of the genre's greatest ever villains. A frightening figure who strikes fear into whoever he meets on his wealthy paymaster's behalf, often backing it up with vicious brutality, the Swede steals every scene of the show he's in. Rip Wheeler, Yellowstone played by Cole Hauser. We shouldn't be surprised by the violence Rip Wheeler unleashes in his defense of the Dutton Ranch, given that his tragic Yellowstone backstory involves killing his father in an attempt to save the rest of his family. He's certainly loyal and fiercely protective of those he loves, but these qualities don't redeem his role in the neo-Western's darkest scenes. Victoria Barkley, the Big Valet played by Barbara Stanwyck. At the heart of an old-school Western TV show that still holds up today, Victoria Barkley represents veteran movie actor Barbara Stanwyck's finest hour on the small screen. The Big Valley's central matriarch is one of the most imposing ranchers of her day, while offering a perspective on the Old West homestead that was uncharted territory in the late 1960s. Josh Randall, Wanted Dead or Alive played by Steve McQueen. Although Steve McQueen rejected Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, it's often forgotten that he'd already made a name for himself in the Western genre by that point, as quintessential anti-hero Josh Randall. A bounty hunter who cares for those in need, Randall is probably the quickest draw in any classic Western show, as well as the most stylish. Beth Dutton, Yellowstone played by Kelly Riley. Beth Dutton is responsible for Yellowstone's best quote, when she surmises what love is to her, and her approach to romance reflects the overall appeal of the show's standout character. Beth is all in with everything she does, takes no prisoners, and is prepared to do her family's dirty work when required. But she always believes in what she's doing. Walt Longmire played by Robert Taylor. A haggard Wyoming lawman who's never taken too kindly to following police protocols, Walt Longmire is the best sheriff in modern-day TV westerns. He's fearsome and tough-talking, but always respects whoever he's dealing with, whether they're an ally, rival or adversary. They don't make many like him anymore, but we should be glad he stuck around for 6 seasons. Tonto, the Lone Ranger played by Jay Silverheels. Among the many crimes of 2013's exorbitantly expensive box office flop The Lone Ranger, the casting of Johnny Depp as Tonto was surely the worst. This legendary character of the small screen deserved better. As played by Mohawk actor Jay Silverheels, he was so often the unsung hero of the Lone Ranger's adventures overcoming bandits of the Old West. Thread my profile Ol Swearingen, Deadwood played by Ian McShane. There are several other Deadwood characters who could have made it into this list, but ultimately none of them is quite as magnetic a screen presence as Ian McShane's Ol Swearingen. A foul-mouthed pimp seemingly without moral scruples, Swearingen turns out to be Seth Bullock's most important ally in the titular gold rush town. Far more nuanced and morally ambiguous than he first appears, McShane's character is at the center of almost all Deadwood's masterpiece episodes. He's also surely among the most entertaining figures in 21st century television across all genres, let alone westerns. Paladin, Have Gun, Will Travel, played by Richard Boone. Richard Boone's Paladin is the most iconic western character of his day. An erudite, Boston-educated martial artist who abhors violence and loves chess, he's far from your typical western protagonist. Yet, he's arguably the genre's first genuine anti-hero on the small screen, with his status as a mercenary and his steely-eyed glare starkly contrasting with the heroic traits of his contemporaries. No one knows much about him or how he got his name, but he's a ruthless sharpshooter whenever he needs to be, regardless of his pacifist leanings. Gus McCrae, Lonesome Dove, played by Robert Duvall. Lonesome Dove doesn't tend to feature among many lists of Robert Duvall's best movies and TV shows, but his performance as Augustus Gus McCrae in Simon Wincer's sublime miniseries adaptation of Larry McMurtry's great novel is one for the ages. McCrae is a Texas Ranger with an aura about him that verges on mythical. His lifestyle of womanizing and boozing contrasts with the responsibility bestowed upon him, but he manages to take everything in stride while defending himself and his comrades from danger. His enduring friendship with Woodrow Call, played by Tommy Lee Jones in the miniseries, is one of the most affecting bonds between two characters in the entire Western canon.